What's up, fellas? 2 videos in 2 weeks? What the hell's going on? Look what we did. We put the little pulley on there. It looks so much better, and man, it's making 10 pounds of boost by about 5,000. And with the camshaft, I don't know if I told y'all, but I changed the camshaft in this thing too. It's got a let me put that down. I get demonetized. It's got a I bought a Clegg kit, dual valve springs, heavy wall push rods. It's like a right at 500 lift, cam 114 degree lobe separation and the head's fully ported, intake's fully ported, all that stuff. It's probably why it's working so good as a camshaft, because the stock cam's gonna dump, your boost right out the bottom with right out the exhaust with a 110 lobe separation. But anyway, I put that on there. She's running good. I got her tuned up. I think I told y'all in the last video I had a little hiccup with it driving. Its drivability. It's wanting to sputter every now and then. And it just started doing it, just like that. Well, right down in there, the plug for the distributor, the dang plastic has come off the wires and they were touching. So that's what was going on with that. I actually went to town in a while ago and it shut off on me. Just put me on the side of the road for the first time ever with this Jeep. And that's what it was. I got out, looked, because I could see it on the AFR gauge. It just lost it on the wideband. It just lost like everything to fuel. And that's what it was. I got to redo that plug like I've done almost every plug on this thing so far. But she's running good. I just wanted to tell y'all that. Quick video this weekend. It's been nasty today. It's Easter. I got all the gauges hooked up. All that's working now. That wire's doing the same thing for the oil. Pro tip, if those wires are bare on that distributor, that's your cam sync or your cam sensor for your fuel injectors. Every time they bump or touch or whatever, it's going to go really rich for a split second and then back to, like it's supposed to be, like it right there was idling at 10.8 or whatever. Well, when it started doing that, I left and it was idling like 8 and 9. I didn't want to run. I don't know what it was, and I never would suspected that. But I had chickens running around here, so they probably, one of them got down in there. I had one try to lay an egg down in there the other day, and so she may have been pecking on it. I need to get the hood back on it. I know that's country stuff right there, buddy, but they get into everything. But the motor did good with that boost. I think I've ran it up 6-7 times, no issues. It ain't busting out. I did pull the spark plugs and gapped them to 25 or 28, I think it was. Put new plugs in it, gapped them 28 after I put that on there, and I run my coolant. I told y'all I was going to run my coolant through here. So what I ended up doing is I come off the cold side of the water pump where it would go to your heater core, come down under the engine, back through the cooler. This side here stays cool as a cucumber now with the E85. The temp, driving all the way to town, back, everything, the temp's like 187 with a 190 thermostat in it. So this is staying pretty cool over here. Run it back through here, back to the intake, and then dumping out the back of the intake through the water neck. And it's keeping it under boost, pulling. It's getting about, I think it was 216 is the highest I've seen, maybe 219 on the data log. I'm gonna put another video up after this and of just the tuning stuff because I know it's boring to watch. You ought to have to do it, but anyway, it got to like 216, which is pretty good without methanol or anything like that on it. It's doing good. It's making a lot of power. And one of you guys asked me about the axles, if I thought about changing them out. I don't think we're going to have a choice now. We'll see when we take it out, but it's making a lot more power. If you do the math on it, with the head ported, the cam, the ported intake, the blower, all that stuff, 10 pounds of boost, if you look up a calculator for horsepower for pound of hour of fuel used, which is how dynos work, it's using 60 to 62 or 63% duty cycle on 60 psi fuel pressure up high, and it's above 300 horsepower, and it'll spin the tires on the highway with these big ass tires on there. So the front end is probably not going to be long for this world when we take it out, but it's all right. If it breaks, it breaks. We'll fix it or do something different. But for you new people that haven't watched all the other videos on Betty, you got the channel named her Black Betty because she likes to bambalam. We did some hell raising with this thing in the last 8 years in swamps and everything else. I think I'm done with the swamp stuff, boys. I really probably am. Last time we went, my buddy's got XJ like this on V-treads. I think they're like 48s or 50s. I don't know what them things are. They're huge. They make my Jeep look little, but he wanted to go in the swamp with that thing and tore brake line off the front on this side. The back brake line's off. Had no brakes in the swamp. Had to back out, and that was the end of that. And every time you go in the swamp, diff fluid front and back, hub, pack hubs, starter, usually junk. The alternator, usually junk, because you're in water literally up to here. No shit. I mean, you can watch my videos. The back seat, you'll be in the water, especially if you stop. I think we're done with that, but we'll see. I can be influenced to do it, I guess. But if y'all haven't watched the videos to see what we did to this, it's got, the front end's been double wall tubed. We put sleeves in it and welded them in, so it's 1/2 inch thick. It's got 4340 axles in the front. It's got the Yukon locking hub conversion, cast iron diff, Aussie locker, 456 gears. We bent the carrier one time. Haven't had any problems with it since. High steering from, I forget where we got the high steering from. It's a long time ago. PCS hydraulic assist steering. 8.5 inch Rusty's coils with Acoas adjustables, which I didn't even really need when I got them, but I got them. We built all the bump stops on the channel. If you look back, the most redneck sounding person you ever seen build a Jeep. But we built all this stuff on the channel. That's the bump stops. That's my up travel, which works pretty good. Everybody doubted that too, but that's really all you need up. Everything else is down. It's got rough country long arms. The only problem I've had with them in 8 years, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but when you totally flex it out, the drive shaft hits that upper link. And it may be a way I have it centered or whatever, but it's pretty centered up in here. Oh. What else we got? The snorkel probably ain't gonna work no more. We still gotta make the tube and put the hood on, all that stuff, but the rear end's got the Yukon axles in it, 456 gears, same thing as the front. We put a truss on it. The brake line's inside that truss, and somehow I jabbed something in there and broke the brake line. Looks like we got an axle seal trying to leak, but these high field diff covers, that sucker is full above the top of that tube, so it really ain't surprising that it's leaking after 8 years. Just got the rough country shocks on the back, nothing special there. We built these bump stops for the rear. This is out of a 2500 E2500 van. what those are. We made all that back then. Our Rock Off-Road, I bought a kit from them and built that anti-wrap bar with a shackle, cross member going across, and that's about it. Got a hack and tap front drive shaft in the rear. I did that in case I broke one or the other. I could swap them, but never have broke one yet. But I can see that coming. Next, all the stereo stuff. Probably gonna be taking that out. But we got the what do they call this thing? I forget where I got this from, but this was like the best thing that I've did to this Jeep. Is this little shifter. I wish I remembered the company I got it from. It was a small company then. It's a Rad Design, I think. Yeah, Rad Design rock shifter. You know, it don't have a lockout for reverse, which is why we broke the front end. We were drag racing and beverages were involved. When I was wide open in overdrive and low range, bumped it to neutral, went too far, and it messed stuff up. But this is like a lockout box. You put this in here from Rad Design, and I've had this in here for years. You can go back my videos and it's worked perfectly. It's a little aluminum piece that's, let's see, first, second, third, fourth, and then overdrive's up here. Flip of the switch. And the cool thing about this overdrive being there, overdrive off, and in the middle, it's almost like a trans brake. I wouldn't suggest doing it much, but if you've had some beverages and you want to take off fast and low range, you put it in first, switch your overdrive to middle, and then off, and it throws power to the switches. It's almost like neutral dropping it, but without moving that. It just does it with the solenoid. I've did a probably too many times, but we got we did this years ago when I had we used to have a big group that rode with us, and I had the biggest Jeep, and I ended up being the one pulling out everybody back then. So I put two 6-volts back here, run a 1-aught cable to the front to the winch, and since I put these amps in here, speakers, I'm getting rid of all this. I've got a quick disconnect there in case I ever get a smoky condition. I can just snatch that. It's not even hooked up right now. And the bumpers come from way back in the day of I forget where we got these from, but I like the old square tube. This is what would have been on this Jeep in 1998 if you was building it. I think was these old square ones. We got the Xeon. It's been okay. It's been good. I haven't used it really that much. I wore another worn out. It wasn't a Xeon though, which is why I got this, because back in the day we had a big group of people riding with us, and we was always winching people out, and that's why I got this. And then everybody basically has quit, which is hard to, you got to be hardcore to stay with this stuff. And I think I got 300 and something subscribers, maybe, I think it was maybe 600 of y'all that are hardcore, because y'all still here waiting. I haven't made a video in 2 years. I've just been busy. I got the grill out of it because I had to clean from the, that's another thing, swamp. That mud water gets in here and you ain't getting it out without taking all this stuff out and cleaning it, especially when you got a locked out fan with no clutch, because whatever RPM that engine's turning, this is turning to at least that and a half until it starts slipping on the belt. Because the way I have this thing rigged up, and it's worked this way for a long time, is the clutch, I ran bolts through it and bolted it together. The standard XJ clutch has oil in it. It's not like an old school clutch style fan clutch. It's got some kind of oil, hydraulic oil in it, and valving. And that's why they turn so slow all the time. It just don't work that good anyway. I bolted it together, and now my clutch is the back side of that belt. When it starts slipping on it, it'll kick it out. It's a little noisy, but in the woods, it works good. And I've turned that fan, well, 5,000 something RPMs, and it hasn't come apart. Now, do you want to stand above it and do that? No, you don't. and you can run the shroud. You just have to cut it with this fan. That fan's off of ZJ, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember, it's been a while. But you don't want to be above that thing and revving it up and all that crap, because it is metal and it is spinning fast. And it's probably not real safe, but you gotta do what you gotta do to make these things work. But we have very little radiator, and trust me, I put at least 3 in this thing, and the only ones that work is the stock ones. I did this here the other day because I was worried my transmission was gonna poop out on me with the extra power. And anyway, fellas, I just figured I'd make a quick video and give an update on the blower and tell any new people what we've done to this thing. You can go back in the videos and watch it all from everything that we did to this sucker. I don't have it from when it was bone stock, because I didn't start YouTube until probably about a year after I got it. And I went through the whole thing back then. Engine, transmission, front end, rear end, all that stuff. And it was basically on 33s. And we drove it all around doing adventuring stuff. And we got to this point. We're going to take this off. That's got to go. All that stuff back there's got to go. Tire carrier is probably going to go. I don't like it, I never have. It's a pain in the butt to get in the back and out and all that. And if you put a tire back here, you can't see nothing, which is why the hatch is green and the rest of it's black rhino. I backed into the wife's Jeep, wide open as it'll go in reverse, and didn't see her back there. And so that's never got a tire put back on it. Anyway, y'all have a good one. I'll hit y'all up next week. We may be fabricating a hood to put on here because it can't stay like this. It'll be junk the first time we take it out. And we don't want that to happen after all this work. This has been a 3-month-long adventure building all this stuff and getting it to run right. Like I said about this fan, it works. If you lock it out, there's actually a guy on eBay that sells a hub now that you can just bolt on there, bolt your fan straight to it. This will cure all overheating issues as far as airflow goes, because you will not believe how much air that thing moves if you ain't got a clutch on it. Now, if you do this, you have to be very, very, very careful with it. Always be aware. Your stock fan, if you do it to stock fan, it'll do the same thing. I just don't know where mine went. So I had to buy this one off of eBay, and this is what came in. But you always got to be aware that's turning solid. If you hit your finger on or something, you're going to know it. You might have a little bit of give with a clutch, but you're not with this. And you don't ever want to be revving it up anywhere near this fan. If you're standing back there, whatever, you might have a chance. But not to say that we'll sling apart, because they run them on roundy round cars like this every Friday night somewhere. Straight driven, old 5-blade Chevrolet fan turning 8,000 RPMs around the track, and it don't come apart. But there's always that one time, and to me, you just don't want to be over that thing revving it up and all that. But if you do it, you can have someone get in there and hold it at about cruising speed 2,000, and I guarantee you ain't never felt so much air come through that radiator. And the only bad thing is, if you're in a swamp on the floor, it's going to suck all that stuff through there too. Anyway, I'm done now. I'll catch up with y'all next week, and maybe we'll do a project. I'll get my cameras out, get my nasty shop cleaned up, and we're eventually gonna go somewhere and see what this thing will do. Y'all make a bet, a vote. What's gonna go first? Hubs, carrier again, that's my vote, or drive shafts. This should be the weakest link. They're aluminum. Same thing that a Ford Ranger used back in the day. When I got them, I thought they were junk, but they've been on there for I don't know how long now, and they have caught hell. But anyway, what do y'all think's gonna go first? Hubs, carrier, drive shafts. I think the axles are good. They got good U-joints in them and stuff, and they're 4340 steel. It's done bent the carrier one time and didn't break none of that, so I'm voting for carrier. I'll holler at y'all later.